Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you disappeared the moment you stepped in? Like your presence barely registers, and your absence would barely matter. You speak, and yet no one listens. You give, and yet it's never enough. You stay, but no one notices you're breaking. There's a particular kind of pain that doesn't scream. It lingers. It grows in silence, and one day, it convinces you that maybe this is just how life is. But what if I told you that the way people treat you might not be the entire problem? What if the disrespect, the dismissal, the cold distance that wraps around your life has less to do with them and more to do with how you've learned to see yourself? It's hard to hear, but truth, real truth, is rarely comfortable. You might be the one who says yes when your whole body wants to say no, who smiles when your chest is heavy, who stays kind even when they keep crossing the line. And deep down you tell yourself it's strength, that you're the better person. But if you're honest, it doesn't feel like strength, does it? It feels like a quiet death. Like every time you silence your needs, a part of you fades. And the worst part, you've gotten used to it. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. So instead, we focus outward. We try to please. We try to prove. We try to earn what should never have needed, earning in the first place, respect. But why? Why do we keep trying to be enough for people who wouldn't notice if we vanish tomorrow? The answer is not found in their behavior. It's buried inside yours, not in blame, but in awareness. You may have learned early on that love must be earned, that your feelings are too much, that your needs are inconvenient. So you adapted. You became agreeable, pleasant, flexible, unthreatening. But beneath all that effort, something in you began to rot. The child who was never allowed to take up space grew into an adult who doesn't know how to, and you mistake your own absence for humility. You've been so conditioned to avoid conflict, you don't even notice when you're the one you keep abandoning. And so the cycle repeats. You're drained, but you offer more. You're hurt, but you forgive faster than the other person realizes they've harmed you. You feel small, and yet you keep shrinking, thinking maybe, just maybe, they'll love you more if you take up even less space. But that's not how love works. And that's never how respect works. Because when you don't hold your ground, people assume you have none. When you don't name your limits, others pretend they don't exist. And when you're too afraid to disappoint, you attract people who are never afraid to hurt you. There's a quiet agreement we make with ourselves that often goes unnoticed. An agreement that says, if I just stay soft enough, patient enough, quiet enough, then they'll finally see me. But that agreement was built in fear, and fear has never once built a healthy relationship. Carl Jung reminds us again, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So what is the unconscious belief guiding your life? That you are not enough unless you prove it, that your needs are a burden, that setting boundaries makes you selfish. These ideas are not truths, they are wounds masquerading as wisdom. You didn't choose them, they were planted, and yet until you pull them out by the root, they will dictate every relationship you enter, every moment you stay silent when you should speak, every time you bend to the point of breaking just to be liked, or at least not left. But no amount of self-abandonment has ever made anyone stay, and no amount of shrinking has ever earned true love. The people who respect themselves, they are not perfect. They are not always liked, but they are whole. They say no when they need to. They walk away when they must. They are not waiting for the world to validate their worth, because they've already decided they are enough. That's the shift. That's where healing begins. Not when others treat you better, but when you stop allowing less than you deserve. This is not about becoming harder. It's not about anger. It's about returning to yourself. You are not cold for setting boundaries. You are not unkind for refusing to be mistreated. You are not selfish for putting yourself first when no one else ever did. You are simply remembering your worth. And yes, it will feel unfamiliar, uncomfortable, maybe even wrong at first, because for so long you associated love with sacrifice. But love without respect is not love. It's survival. And you were not made to merely survive. You were made to speak, to feel, to take up space, to exist in your fullness, without guilt or apology. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is waking up. The part of you that's tired of hiding, tired of waiting, tired of being invisible. Let that voice grow louder. Let it guide you. And if this truth stirred something in you, I invite you to reflect for a moment. What part of this story felt like your own? What have you tolerated for too long? And why? Write it in the comments. Not for me, but for yourself. Sometimes, putting it into words is the first step toward reclaiming your voice. And if you're ready to go deeper, in the next part, we'll explore the silent rules you've been living by and how to finally rewrite them. You don't need to keep proving your worth. You only need to stop betraying it. The rest will follow. You've spent a lifetime following rules that no one wrote down, but somehow you still obey them. Rules like don't upset anyone, don't ask for too much, don't be a burden, don't say no, be kind, even when they're not, be available, even when you're tired, be agreeable, even when it hurts. Where did these rules come from? You were not born this way. There was a time when your no was loud, when your anger was pure, when your boundaries were intact. You cried when hurt. You reached when you needed. You were whole unapologetically. But life taught you something else. It taught you that your voice makes people uncomfortable, that your needs make you too much, that your emotions get in the way. So you adapted. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You said it's fine when everything inside you screamed, it's not. You became accommodating, harmless, quiet. You became what they needed you to be, at the cost of who you truly were. And for a while, it worked. People liked you. You were easy to be around. You never asked for anything. You never took up space. But slowly, that false peace turned into a private war. Because every time you agreed to something you didn't want, you felt a little more invisible. Every time you tolerated what hurt, you lost a little more of yourself. And the saddest part is, no one noticed. Because you never told them. You trained the world to see you as someone who doesn't mind. Carl Jung said, every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism, and your addiction was being the ideal version of yourself. The one who gets along, the one who doesn't make noise, the one who never needs too much. But that ideal was killing you slowly. And the world, it responded to your silence with more silence. You hoped they'd see you, that they'd feel your sacrifice, that one day they'd say, you've done enough, you can rest now. But they never do, because people only stop taking when you stop giving. This is not because they're evil. It's because you never showed them how to treat you. Respect is not earned through sacrifice. It's established through self-regard. And here's the truth you've been avoiding. No one is coming to rescue you from your own pattern. There is no person who will walk into your life and say, "You've given enough, let me take care of you now." There is only you. And the moment you decide that you are worthy of the same care you've so freely given away, that's where it changes. But to change, you have to face something frightening. The idea that you've been betraying yourself with your own kindness. Not because you're weak, but because you thought you had no other way to be loved. But now, you know that love without respect is not love. It's dependency. It's fear. It's self-erasure. And you were not made to disappear for others. You were made to be known. But no one will know you if you keep hiding behind who you think you should be. Your softness is not the problem. It's your silence. Your empathy is not the flaw. It's your inability to include yourself in it. You think boundaries will make people leave, but the truth is, they will only remove those who were never truly there. Those who love you will not be threatened by your strength. They will be relieved by it. They will finally meet the real you. So what does this strength look like? It's not a loud confrontation. It's not arrogance. It's not rebellion. It's quiet clarity. It's saying, "I will not be spoken to this way. I am not available right now. This doesn't work for me. I need time. I disagree. I deserve better." Simple sentences. But for someone who has built an entire life around pleasing, they can feel like fire, because every no burns down a piece of the identity you created to survive. But what grows in its place is something sacred. A self that does not bend for approval. A soul that stands tall in its own worth. A person who is not waiting to be chosen, because they've already chosen themselves. That is what the world starts to respond to. Not your perfection, not your compliance, but your presence. The moment you stop trying to be everything for everyone, you begin to be something real for yourself. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But it doesn't begin with discovery. It begins with undoing. Undoing the people-pleasing, the guilt, the compulsive apologies, the need to explain yourself, undoing the idea that love must be earned through suffering. It never did. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be complicated. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to matter without proving it first. But all of this starts with a question only you can answer. What am I still tolerating, not because I want to, but because I'm afraid not to? If that question stirred something inside you, I invite you to pause. Let it echo. Let it breathe. And if you feel called, write your truth in the comments below. Sometimes naming it is what breaks the spell. You are not alone in this awakening, but you are the only one who can begin it. And in the final part of this journey, we will explore what happens when you finally say the word you've been too afraid to speak. No. No to the old self. No to the silent agreements. No to everything that told you you must earn what was already yours. Because that no is the beginning of your real yes. Stay with this. We'll walk the final steps together. There's a word that lives heavy in the chest of those who were raised to please. A word that feels dangerous, selfish, even cruel. That word is no. It sounds simple, but for someone who has shaped their entire identity around being needed, being agreeable, being good, saying no feels like betrayal. But here's the paradox. The longer you say yes when you mean no, the more you betray yourself. And the more you betray yourself, the less anyone will see you clearly. Because your boundaries, spoken or not, teach the world how to treat you. And when those boundaries are missing, the world does not fill in the gaps with kindness. It fills them with assumption, with convenience, with whatever is easiest for them. That's the danger of silence. It doesn't protect you. It just makes others more comfortable with your absence. You think you're preserving the peace, but all you're doing is shifting the war inward, and the one losing is you. Carl Jung once wrote, "Shame is a soul-eating emotion, and saying no is often laced with shame." Because somewhere deep inside, you learned that choosing yourself meant hurting someone else. You learned that taking up space meant pushing someone out, that asserting your needs meant being difficult. But that was never the truth. That was control. That was conditioning. That was someone else's fear passed on to you. And now, it's time to let it go. Because every time you say no, when your soul means it, you are saying yes to something sacred. Your peace, your energy, your truth, yourself. No is not rejection. It is recognition. A recognition that you matter too, that your limits are valid, that your time is yours, that your feelings are real. And here's something no one told you. People might resist it. They might get upset. They might say you changed. And they'd be right. Because you have. You are no longer willing to pay for connection with your self-abandonment. You are no longer available for one-sided friendships, conditional love, performative kindness. You are no longer trying to keep the peace at the cost of your inner war. You are no longer saying yes when your whole being is screaming, "Please, not again." You are allowed to say no without a 30-minute explanation. You are allowed to say no without guilt, without fear, without apology. Because you are not responsible for other people's comfort at the cost of your own integrity. You are only responsible for showing up for yourself, fully, clearly, honestly. And here's the miracle. The more you do this, the more the right people appear. The ones who don't get offended when you have limits. The ones who don't take your silence as permission. The ones who see your no, not as rejection, but as a sign of maturity, of clarity, of presence. Because people who respect themselves are drawn to others who do the same. And those who benefited from your confusion, your guilt, your overgiving, they may leave. That them, they were never seeing you, only what you could offer. You are not a service. You are not a cushion. You are not here to soften everyone's journey by hardening your own. You are here to live your life as truthfully as you can. Carl Jung said, "Individuation means becoming an individual, and insofar as individuality embraces our innermost, last, and incomparable uniqueness, it also implies becoming one's own self. This is the final act of respect, not waiting for others to treat you well, but finally treating yourself as someone who matters. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. This is not ego, it is essence. This is not rebellion, it is return. You are not becoming someone new. You are coming home to the version of you that was always waiting, beneath the guilt, beneath the fear, beneath the role-playing and shape-shifting, the one who never needed to be anything but whole. And yes, there will still be days when you question yourself, when guilt creeps in, when someone's disappointment makes you flinch. But now you know better. Now you recognize the pattern. And with that recognition comes freedom. Every moment is an invitation to choose yourself again, to pause, to breathe, to ask, is this true for me? Am I abandoning myself here? If the answer is yes, you have the power to change course. Not tomorrow, not next year, but now, So ask yourself, where in my life do I still seek permission to be myself? What no have I been too afraid to speak out loud or even privately? What would happen if I finally said it? If these questions stir something in you, pause this moment. Write it in the comments, not just for this video, but as a ritual, a beginning, a declaration to your own soul that you are listening now. And if you're ready to take this further, to practice these truths, to embody them, to let them shape your next chapter, then keep watching. There's more to uncover, more to unlearn, more of yourself to return to. Because the journey of self-respect is not about becoming hard, but becoming whole. It's not about closing off, but finally opening to a life where your worth is not negotiated, but known. Thank you for walking this far. Now, walk it in your life. Train it in your speech. Practice it in your relationships. Let it show in your decisions. And if something in this journey felt like home, share it below. Let your comment be the echo of a self that's done being quiet. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, be kind, be true, and most of all, be real with yourself.